I stand on the shoulders of giants. I come from a long lineage of this name called Koinange without the privilege. That street you see out there down the road is not named after me. It's named after my grandfather, Senior Chief Koinange, one of the initial architects of the Mau Mau Revolution. Every time I pass down that street, I take pride in that name. And I take credit every time people mention that street's name. I say, yeah, it's named after me. Not talking about what happens on that street. That's a different story. But nevertheless, Jina Kubwa. So that's how I grew up. My grandfather started the revolution, as I said, with my father and brothers and sisters and grandmothers. And on October 12th, 1952, when a state of emergency was declared, they were all detained. My father spent 7 years in detention, my grandfather 8. My father's mother spent another 7. All of them, the entire family, maybe about 26 of them were detained. Some of them died in detention. That's how I grew up. So my father comes back from detention, marries my mother, has 4 children, and on March the 7th, 1966, the day I turned 2 months old, he died. 2 months. The eldest in our family, my sister, was 4.5 years old. Second born was 3.5. Third born was 2.5. I was 2 months old. My mother was 28 years old. Imagine, 3 years after independence, 1966, you're 28 years old, your husband dies, you're left with 4 children. Anyone who's 28 here, think about that for a moment. She was a headmistress in a school in Kiamba, right past Banana Hill. And the one thing that she decided to do after that, and I will forever, ever be grateful, she said she would give us the best education that she could. My brother and I went to St. Mary's, and he finished Standard 7, and he wanted to go on to boarding school, which was the thing to do at that time, you know, guys in patch and alliance and changes. That's all people wanted to do is go to boarding school. So he applied and was accepted to changes, Lenana. And it was great, it was fantastic when we used to take him to school on Sundays and see the uniforms and the guys and the houses. It was great, and I said, I want to follow him. I want to go to school just like he did, I want to follow him to changes. At that time, my sisters were in LGS, Limuru Girls School. They called it Chocks then. So everybody had gone to boarding school, and now the little kid wanted to go to boarding school and leave our mother behind. And that wasn't going to happen. So I stayed in Mary's. And everything I did growing up was because of this woman who raised us. I got into sports like John was talking about earlier on, rugby, soccer, basketball, cricket, hockey. I played everything to make this woman proud. I got into, I was a school prefect all the way up to Form 6 just to make this woman proud. There was one time because I was such an athlete in school, they said, this guy is going to be head boy in this school. He's destined to be head boy. And I knew I was going to be head boy. It was obvious. It was obvious. Cut a long story short, I didn't make it to head boy. So what I decided to do, because it really affected me, I was really, really affected by the fact that I didn't make head boy. I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a play. I'm going to write a play that will forever be remembered in this school's history. Now, back then, 1984, St. Mary's never or hardly participated in the school's drama festivals. Remember those ones? School's drama. For the first time, I wrote a play, and the school accepted it, and it was entered into the provincials. Then it was the provincials before you went to the nationals. The provincials it was actually the silver anniversary of the school's drama festival, 25th year. So the provincials were being held at Kenya High at Boma, And then the nationals will be held in Nairobi, Taifa Hall, down the road. We went to the provincials. We competed against all the schools in the province, and we came third. Usually, only the first two schools would make it through to the nationals. Because it was a silver anniversary, 3 schools were accepted. So the first, the second, and then us as third were accepted to go to the nationals. The play was, by the way, it was called It's Only a Matter of Time. It was about South Africa while it was still under apartheid. Cut a long story short, we performed it in front of a great audience and judges at Taifa Hall. And St. Mary's, for the very first time, won the National Drama Festival. Yeah, 1984. And it kind of opened my eyes. It said to me, you know what, maybe there is something here for you. Maybe you have a gift here for writing and telling stories. I finished high school, 1986, A-levels and everything. Mom had already, spent all her monies educating us, so I didn't get a chance to go to university then. And I started working at a bank here in Nairobi. And while working there, 6 months later, one of my colleagues in the bank showed me a newspaper headline that said, Pan American Airlines, the American airline that everybody knew back then, Pan Am, was hiring flight attendants for the very first time from Africa. And she said, hey man, let's apply. I said, what, flight attendant, what do you want to do? You want to be, what, a waiter in the air? And she said, no, you're going to see the world. This is a great opportunity for you. You're 19 years old. I said, you know what? Okay, why not? We applied, as did 10,000 other people. They were looking for 40 people to take to Miami, Florida. Guess what? I made it. Of those 40, so they flew us to Miami, Florida, first time on a plane flying overseas. And we arrived in Miami, and it was amazing, it was incredible. And when we were on the plane, and one of the instructors told me, Jeff, why don't you take the manual, the Pan Am manual, and just announce to the passengers, there are no passengers here, the seats are empty, but just announce about how to store your luggage and all that stuff. So I got on the PA system, the public address system, and I said, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Pan American Clipper Flight number 088 from Nairobi, Kenya, with continuing services to Lagos, Monrovia, Dakar, and New York. All of us are trained in cabin safety, and we ask that you watch and listen carefully as we review the safety features of this Pan American Boeing 747. I remember this from 38 years ago. So that's exactly what the instructor did. He said, do that again, man. I said, do what again? He said, do that thing again that you just did. I said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Pan American. And that was it. I discovered that day or that time, the gift was right here in my throat. I had no clue what I was going to do in life. Fast forward, we're working an actual flight. Passengers were flying from Nairobi to New York, and we're having a great time. We're young. It was fantastic. We're seeing the world. 7 times out of 10, passengers would say, every time I did the announcement, they'd say, is that a radio announcement there? Americans, how they are. Huh? Is that a recorded message there? They said, no, it's that guy who's standing up there. They said, call him. We want to talk. Call him back here. After the service, a couple of hours later, I would walk back and they'd say, hey, listen, kid, I was 19. You need to go to school. You need to do something with that voice because one day you're going to make a lot of money with that voice. I'm still waiting to make a lot of money, but that's not... That's exactly what I did. Against all odds, I decided, you know what? I'm going to exploit this thing. This one gift that I have. I'm in college. After working for Pan Am, I'm in the college, and it's graduation time. And they come up to me, the professors come up to me and say, hey, Jeff, do you know you have gotten all A's in the last 3-4 semesters that you've been here? All A's. I said, oh, really? That's great. Dean's list, summa cum laude, all that stuff. And they said, we're thinking of making you the valedictorian of this graduating class. wait a minute. I said, what is that? Valedictorian, what? I had no clue. And they said, yeah, you get to speak to the graduating class of your year, and but you have to compete